All right.
All right. Hello.
Hello. So the first one for episode 12, the first one is entitled Mitigating Our Struggle.
Hmm.
Every one of us will struggle with what is coming, no matter how awesomely good it ends up being, because it will implode our reality of the past. Our prior living experience has set a believable trajectory from which we confine our future living to abide by. For many, it seems we're advancing into the future with our more sophisticated tools and technology, but compared to what? Our past? That is precisely what holds us to a confined corridor of mitigated growth, comparing our current living experience to those of our past. So, you ask, what else would we evaluate our advancement against? How about against the possibilities of our potential? And how do we even know what those are, you ask? One way is to open ourselves to searching for those possibilities and make it a priority. As a child, I used to read sections of the Guinness Book of World Records and wonder what our world would look like in 2000 if those stories from the 1970s were anything to go by. Unfortunately, I outgrew that wonder, and those records never moved beyond being more mere entertainment. But imagine if our media had used that to motivate us to do more, instead of focusing on keeping our future rooted in the past. Expansion of our abilities never interested them, nor our governments, for that would have risked their monopoly on our attention. Governments and secret societies have an inkling of what we're capable of and have collaborated to keep it hidden from us for at least decades. One group especially has run in the dark experiments since its inception shortly after World War II, when a flood of German scientists migrated to the States and paperclipped their freedom to the fledgling secret intelligence agency. This CYA agency performed a vast array of mind-altering experiments using those scientists who had been performing similar tests in war-torn Europe just a few years previously. They've known about our telepathic, telekinetic, and remote viewing capabilities for at least decades and have kept it hidden from us as we continue to finance that very same work. Why do I mention this? Mainly because when the Stooges are removed here shortly, a deluge of glass shattering dark project info will be made available so that we won't have to start from scratch in understanding our advanced abilities. This will help mitigate some of the holes we have in our knowledge and open the doors to the possibilities of our potential. Our imaginations will definitely get a kickstart after we're exposed to that info. But what else can we do to mitigate our upcoming struggles? Discernment and imagination top my list. Questioning the obvious narratives puts you in input mode to discovery. We're getting a big boost to this by the by the deteriorating function of our media, our financial system, and our politicians. Any word from anyone in those groups, and my first reactions are to either believe the opposite or ask what they are not telling us. However, they're so obviously ridiculous that they're leaving clues all over the place now. I'm expecting those areas to crack wide open in the next few weeks. When it comes to discovering our possibilities, there is no greater tool than our imaginations. Imagination will light the way out of that darkened visitor center and lead us to empower our controls to the amusement park so that we can see the joys that await us in this wonderful world of art. However, when those lights are first turned up, we may not like what we see from all the misuse, disuse, and refuse that the previous owners let accumulate from the neglect. The children will be the hardest hit by that neglect, and it will be up to us to lift their spirits, clean up the mess, and use our imagination to renovate the park to its full potential. The shock to our eyes mustn't deter us from the newly found path to our future, despite the obviousness of the struggle. Our imagination and optimism will mitigate that struggle to elevate our confidence in completing that renovation.
Yep. Lots going to be unveiled.
Lots getting ready to be unveiled. So, all right, the next one is a poem. It is entitled A Child's Will for Us to Keep. All right. Now I lay you down to sleep. I pray your broken heart to keep. If you die before you wake, I pray the Lord your soul to take. Had we known you did exist, with those bonds upon your wrist, heaven and hell would never have kept our will from freeing you from where you slept. Will not turn away from what's been done, neither avoiding your past nor choosing to run. This is your now, for our hearts we must find a lifting of spirit and unveiling of mind. We must never forget who your souls represent, a past we must see for a future that was meant. Lying there upon your lying there upon your fate, we mustn't give in to our hate at finding you in your state. One day of that is one day too late. For you, child, I hope you can forgive, to lay down your burden so that you may live. Then will you lay me down to sleep? I ask of you my heart to keep. If we break before you wake, I pray the Lord our soul to take.
Mm-hmm.
In the coming days, that's going to take on a whole new meaning. Some of you,
I love it.
some of you know what's coming. Some of you, a lot of you probably don't.
Mm-hmm.
And we really can't get into it because there is a shock value to it that is going to move people.
Just don't look away.
Yeah, just don't. We can't look away. So it won't be long now. So. All right, the next section is entitled A Crack in the Foundation, the visible start to our transformation. In the next few weeks, a crack will open in the old storyline, one none of us will enjoy, but must be done to begin the crumbling of that dilapidated structure. It will show us there is no going back to old ways. Full stop. First of many, it will shock us all to the bone. This first crack is enough by itself to unravel our status quo, sending shockwaves throughout our society. If you're thinking this will be due to sun disease deaths, you're in for a rude awakening. This is just a cover story for white hat operations that are in the process of freeing hostages that have long been held captive by the black hat stooges. Many of these victims will be young, very young, and their condition will floor you. Hearts will break. Hearts will break across the globe. Many people will ask how, why, how long, who did this, how did we let this happen? Or they will just plain go quiet. And those will be valid questions, but not our top priority. No, those questions will focus on our need for answers to try and alleviate our pain over the needs and pains of the victims. However, most of us are decent people, and decent people come together in a crisis and tend to the victims first until their crisis is over. And then
Mm.
they make time for those questions.
Yes.
And answers will be forthcoming because many of them were acquired in order to rescue the victims.
Mm.
When the story breaks, know that you will be seeing and hearing a culmination of a string of operations to find, identify, prepare for, and then releasing those hostages. During that process, both white hat operators and black hat stooges will have been wounded or killed. And keep in mind, the operators will have been the first to be confronted with the conditions of the victims. And I can only imagine what they must have felt, to say nothing of the victims, because I simply can't imagine what they have been through. To get the barest hint of one version of the torturous life of a victim, you can read Transformation. It's trance in all caps, Transformation of America by Kathy O'Brien and Mark Phillips. But I warn you up front, this is not for the faint of heart. There were parts of this that made me sick to my stomach. And I'm
That's true.
Kathy O'Brien's story has been out for years, but it will really be brought out into the spotlight, as well as many others, after the upcoming shock explodes onto the news. My heart goes out to all those victims, and I truly hope you each find a resolution to your situation. Also, my thanks go out to all of the operators, support staff, K9s, medical techs, doctors, nurses, and any others who work so hard and put so much heart in freeing and providing aid to these victims. Your actions and sacrifices will be remembered, but I know that's not why you did it. I also know your actions will set an example for us all in the coming weeks and months as we learn to come together in serving the highest good of all. Semper Fi. And this does not have to do anything with the pandemic.
No.
That is just a cover story.
Yeah.
You won't have to go looking for it.
Mhm.
It'll be everywhere,
Yeah.
and it'll be so obvious. It will, like I said, it'll put some of you on the floor.
You know
Yeah.
what's strange is before I came in here, I grabbed 3 oils, and I never do that, but I grabbed courage, perseverance, forgiveness, and empathy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I haven't even used these in so long, and I was like, I need these for today, for right now.
Yeah. And forgiveness and empathy. I mean, as obviously courage, but forgiveness and empathy are going to be really, really important.
And now
Mhm.
we're not doing this to scare anybody.
No.
I know a lot of people say that. We're not.
No.
This is getting ready to break open. We're
Which
getting
will be
we're
great
getting
in the
confirmations
end, but-
all over the place. The signs have been there for quite some time.
Mhm.
We have just been kind of just we didn't
Mhm.
want to kind of get too far ahead of it or anything like that. But now the signs are
Yeah.
all over the place, and Trump is ready to get ready to
To do this.
to unveil.
And I've keep feeling this for a long time, this feeling of freedom, freedom, freedom. And there's going to be a road to get for these people to get to before they feel the freedom. And I think that's the poem that was in there and all of that. You take us not hanging on to their victimhood, and allowing them and helping them to heal or
And
to.
Yeah.
these are real, true victims.
Absolute.
They had no power. They had no say. Some of them were born into it and had
Right.
no choice, none whatsoever.
Okay.
So
It's important to stay at a compassionate level before getting angry about what has happened.
that's exactly
Exactly.
what I was saying. Come together. It's a crisis. Let's deal with the crisis. What can we do? Ask how we can help. Let's deal with the victims first. The answers will come. Believe me, all of that is being worked out. Packages are being prepared to inform us of what happened, who was involved, what went down, the whole 9 yards. All of that is being prepared. They are not going to leave us in the lurch when it comes to this, because the stooges are out now. They're gone. The last vestiges of just the lower ranking ones are being cleaned up.
Yep.
So there's nothing you can do to get ready for it. There's absolutely nothing you can do. It's going to hit.
And it's going to shock us even. I mean, even the ones that we've known about for a while, it's going to be shocking. It's just knowing our, especially when it comes to kids and our mama natures and daddy natures of protect, and, that you got to not allow that to overrule just the tending to the healing and the process these young people are going to have to go through. So.
This is a time of healing. That has to be the priority.
Yeah, exactly.
No ifs, ands, or buts. So,
Yep.
All right, the next section is entitled Filing a Complaint to Stay in Place. We all complain. I do it. You do it. Everybody does it. Stop complaining. How much of it is voiced is up to you, but we all do it. This is our way of saying, I've found a set of circumstances that I want to stay in, explore, and experience. Whether or not you like the experience of your current circumstances is just a classification you make to yourself. If you didn't want it and will it, you'd release it and move to another. The loudest or most repeating of complainers are broadcasting to themselves and those around them that they have a strong intent to stay in place and experience their current circumstances. Why do we do this? It's our way of communicating to this world and to ourselves that these circumstances are worthy of your attention, and therefore you expend energy on it to signal your intent. As soon as you stop putting energy into a particular aspect of your circumstances, both externally and internally, that aspect will wither and fade away because you are no longer feeding it energy. Every one of us is an energy center that takes in and expends energy. You take in energy from this world and then you give it back in order to continue the flow of life. The automated rules of this world specify your intake of energy is to be done via eating, which is only symbolic until you break out of that rule and realize this world needs you to expend your energy in it in order for this world to maintain its existence. Each of us is a power generator for our own view of this world. And together, we pump up this world with our energy and give it vibrancy through our multitude of views and our imaginations. We give this world life, and it gives us reasons for being. So what does that mean to us? It means our world needs us more than we need it. If we weren't here to give it life, our energy generating essence would be in another world pumping it up, because life cannot and will not be contained by this world or any other. Therefore, this world responds to us and our wills just as we respond to it and its will, with neither confining the other. However, this world doesn't necessarily respond to our words. Words are just the lines in the play of the storyline. We communicate backstage with this world by the energy of our will. This world picks up your energy, reads your will, and then adjusts your circumstances of this world, which then allows you to change your view or perspective of this world. So, if you are expending energy on a particular aspect, whether you consider it positive or negative, this world interprets that as you willing it to continue. Conversely, if you withdraw your energy from an aspect, that the world obliges and withdraws the aspect accordingly. Think of this as a sweet and sour principle. This world doesn't care if you like one or the other or both. It only pays attention to your selections, which is where you put your energy. If you say you want 100% sweet, but you keep selecting sour most of the time, the world will respond to your selections because that's where your energy is going. And it wants your expending energy, not your words. Complaining is our own dichotomy of choice between sweet and sour. We say we want sweet, but we keep selecting sour. So we can complain about it more. Your view doesn't care about your conflict of interest. It just responds to what you're spending your energy on. Your conflict is just part of your experience. It's you saying one thing and yet doing another, which we all do. Your world doesn't get lost in your decisions or indecision, and instead it sees who pays its electricity bill. Your intent. Why do we complain, procrastinate, dither, argue, and fight? Mainly because we sense that we have a choice, but we're not ready to move from our current experience to a new one. But what causes it? That would be your dichotomy between your current perspective experience and another perspective that has entered your awareness via your will. Your will says, time to get up and move, but you plead 5 more minutes, thereby filing your complaint to stay in place. Your complaint isn't really with anyone else but you and your will. You want to stay and experience your current perspective longer, but you know there's another one queued up for you by your will. Your will knows it's time to move because life cannot and will not be contained. And at that moment, you are containing yourself. This pull from 2 different perspectives is the cause of your complaint and your unsettledness. The more insistent your complaint, the more the pull you feel from your will's insistence to get up and move. No one or no thing is doing this to you. The parent in you is trying to wake you to an opportunity more worthy of your experience, while the child in you drags your feet and complains to stay in the perceived comfort of your current experience. You can fight it for a while, but life cannot and will not be contained. And your will is your agent for life. This is the deal you made to become life in this world. So complain, bitch, moan, procrastinate, dither, and argue all you want, but you're only admitting that you have another perspective to go to, one that is so insistent that it's causing you to show outward repeating signs of your unsettledness. Your will has received your complaint and will begin ignoring it very soon because the comfort of your want does not hold a candle to the will of life. As long as you resist your will, you will have dichotomies to complain about. But did you pick up on a very big point about your will? I'll give you a hint. It shares this point with your imagination. Anyone? Bueller? Well, here it is. Your will operates within and outside your current perspective, just like your imagination. Do you know what that means? Your will has a much broader and expansive menu to pick from than just your one single current perspective. It's like you being in an amusement park fixated on one ride, like the merry-go-round, and riding it over and over again, stuck in that one experience, while your guide, or better known as your will, is pointing out an even better ride and nudging you to it because it has a broader view or map of the park. Maybe if we each learn to allow our guide to actually guide our experience throughout the park, we might maximize our enjoyment of the park. Wow, that sounds awfully familiar to moving from base living to expanded living. If I didn't know any better, I'd say my will is the guiding hand of my benefactor, illuminating the way through my view of this world, attending to my options while I, the experiencer, get to explore those options. So, is trusting my will my pathway to expanded living? If it is, how do I begin trusting my will? Oh, wow, I think I know that answer. When I go to file a complaint to stay in place, maybe I could pause to determine what I'm complaining about, because that's my will trying to wake me up to a better experience, and my complaining is a sign of me not trusting my guide. Is it that simple? Am I done? Is this writing done? Dottie, Terry, and Deshan are giving me the stink eye. Heck, even Christos, Volar, and Annie are getting in on that. Okay, I won't make that mistake again. But can you guys help me write out the solution to this calculus problem? Hey, where are you guys going? What? Ha ha, Annie just said, hey, Dingleberry, you need to show your work and prove you didn't cheat off of us. Plus, they have more frivolous things to do. I think my characters need a rewrite.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, what you complain about, yeah, energy too. Yeah.
Yep.
Perspective.
The truth.
Hey, those are my house plants.
Go get our own.
Get your own. Excuse me.
Down the wrong pipe?
Yeah. Hey, that's for breathing. Almost made you do it. Much to think about. Much to think about now.
Yeah. There's a lot in there all the way around. Felt like a little bit of a roller coaster in the amusement park.
Really? You think so?
We're going through the dark tunnel and then coming out to the light. Yeah,
exactly.
And then getting splashed with water.
Wearing your jeans. Wearing your jeans.
Yeah. That's coming.
What, the splash with water?
Yeah. The shock of the water.
Yeah. Very good.
Yes.
Very interesting. This week is going to be very interesting.
This week is going to be the time, I'm not saying just Easter Day, but the time around Easter, because the energy that day represents, what it was supposed to represent, is coming back in a grand fashion. We're leaving the grand illusion, and we're entering something much grander. But the entranceway is not pretty.
Yeah.
Because that is the vestiges of the old paradigm that we didn't even know was going on.
Yeah, I think that's going to be part of the hardest part, and the poem itself talks about that, with like not getting caught up in the who done it and anger, and what your paragraphs after the poem was about, not trying to figure out who did this and how do we miss it and what, because there's a whole range of emotion there that we could get caught up in and totally miss.
That's the old energy of how it used to be. You know, you don't focus on anyone who got hurt, you focus on who hurt them. But now it's like we need to focus on who's hurting, not worry about how it happened or why it happened.
Yes, because that's our mission here. That's what we've been here to prepare for, and then bring us all together and emerge a different society.
Yes.
And no matter how much you drag your feet, change is going to happen very fast, because everybody's changing because of what's getting ready to happen. When they see it and it shocks them, some people are going to go quiet and they're going to need a moment. But a lot of people are going to be so heartsick, they're going to want to, I want to help. What can I do? They're going to people that are just, they're going to drop what they're doing, and they're going to go. They're going to just go. It is that impactful. And you can think of you can think of what segment of the populace would cause that kind of move.
Well, you can think about how we humans respond when there's a crisis in a community-run hurricane or flood, or and imagine the magnitude of something like this. So I just can feel that whole, yes, there's going to be pain, but there's going to be this flood, tsunami of love, that is also going to be there with it too. That's going to be if
you don't know how to respond when this hits, default to love, sending these victims all the love and healing energy you possibly can. That's what you can do. You don't have to be right there, but don't turn away.
Right.
Don't do that to them.
Exactly.
Because I'm only saying, I'm not telling you what to do. All I'm saying is you don't want to live to regret it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Be a part of it.
Because they had no choice in this. None. They were taken against their will. So.
Yep.
But
they're Gaia's children, and Gaia's been, for us to heal everything has to be healed.
This is what we came for.
That's right.
That's why we're here.
Absolutely.
And so now it's time to cinch those britches up and get to work. I mean, I don't mean necessarily physical work. I mean, resolving the conflicts inside you about where you stand on this and whatnot, and realize what should be the true focus.
Yeah. Do you choose love, or do you choose revenge?
I choose to weave love energy all over the place.
Yes. Absolutely.
I like it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Weavers are going to be coming out of the woodwork.
And
that is going to be a beautiful thing. So it's unfortunate that it's going to take this kind of catalyst to do it. But that is what we're going to be confronted with, and so let's not waste it.
You see it on a smaller scale when a child goes missing in a community and people set up all of the power to try to help that child, and the passion and love that goes towards it. It's going to be something like that on a grander scale. And seeing those things, most of the attention, in my opinion, goes towards the love of wanting to help the child. And so.
Yeah. And if you can't help them directly, then help the helpers.
Yeah.
find out what you can do. Watch their children.
Mow their grass.
Mow their grass.
Feed them.
Get their mail. Watch their children. Clear their plates so that they can be free and no worries to go assist.
Yeah.
Directly assist. These are people learning. All of us need to learn how to become good aid workers, not just helpers.
And we all have a role to play. Yeah. All of us have a role to play.
Yeah, your role may not be day one. It may be day, 28.
And teaching all of our children to be compassionate about things, the situation that goes on, to be loving and open-minded and open.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we need to rise above any of the lower density energy like guilt and hate and anger and all that. That is not going to serve anybody. And
it's not about us. It's not about our feelings right now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah.
Feels complete.
Feels complete.
Yeah.
So,
feels complete.
We offered the poem inside there. That's what this has to do with. You're welcome. I built it kind of like a conduit. If you want to send loving energy, read the poem and use that as a conduit to send your love. It doesn't have to be mine. I'm just saying I offered that one up. If there's another one, another poem or another activity you can do that helps focus that loving energy, then use it.
Yeah.
But that's the one that we worked on together.
Yeah. And it's all about love. It's all about love. Yep. Beautiful.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.